We start off by watching a small boy get jumped while trying to protect someone else. This is Izuku Midoriya, or Deku for short. You see, 80% of the world's population has developed some sort of superpower called a quirk, and in this new superhuman society, superheroes are a thing. Young Deku idolizes the best hero in the world, All Might. He's basically anime Superman if he were cool, and little Izuku wants to be a hero just like him, but despite having two parents with quirks, Deku is born with fucked up toes and can't develop a quirk. Finding this out crushes his little hopes for trying to be a hero, and this makes him cry like a bitch. And that makes his mom cry like a bitch, and makes me cry like a bitch every single time! Fast forward a few years and Deku sees a villain incident on his way to school, but it's quickly dealt with by a tree dressed up like a hero and a mountain dressed up like a lady. Back at school, he's still getting harassed by the blonde-haired asshole that beat him up in kindergarten, and he gets shit from pretty much all of his classmates because he still wants to be a hero even though he's quirkless. And he doesn't let that break his spirit. He keeps his resolve to become a hero, and you could say that hope is his real power. Well, apparently Hope is weak against slime because a wild villain appears and uses Drown on Izuku. It was super effective. Fortunately, All Might shows up and auras the villain so hard he splatters all over the fucking walls. And after some fanboy shenanigans, Izuku is finally able to come face to face with this hero. All Might's Digiform form wears off and he gets all skinny, but Deku is finally able to ask him if someone like him can become a hero. All Might tells him no and reveals that even someone as powerful as him can almost be killed as a hero, and that someone with no power wouldn't last a day. Deku temporarily loses hope. Meanwhile, Bakugo, the bully from before, is attacked by the sledge villain from earlier. He managed to escape All Might during Deku's fanboy shenanigans. Bakugo's explosion quirk makes it almost impossible for the pros to save him, and while he's struggling, both All Might and Deku look on, and then, before he can even think, Izuku's body moves on its own and he rushes in to save the same asshole who's been beating him up since childhood. Seeing this powerless kid take action inspires All Might to fight despite reaching his time limit for the day, and he serves the villain a nice, juicy Detroit Smash! Those cheeks got clapped so hard they changed the fucking weather. Fast forward a little bit and All Might reveals to Deku that his quirk can be passed from person to person, and that All Might has chosen him as his successor. Tells Deku the words that he's always wanted to hear. That, young man, you too can become a hero. And I'm not exactly sure what happens next. I was too busy crying my eyes out. And if you tell me you aren't sobbing at this, then you're a fucking liar. The day has come! To be able to handle the raw power of All Might's quirk, Deku has to strengthen his body, so All Might forces him to clean up a beach for 10 months straight to build muscle. Now, that doesn't sound like much until you consider that people have been dumping refrigerators, cars, and old tractor tires on this fucking beach, because if you think about it, Mr. Miyagi ain't got shit on All Might. And Izuku manages to finish cleaning the beach and also some areas that All Might didn't tell him to clean, all on the morning of his entrance exam to UA High, a prestigious school that trains the best heroes in all of Japan. All Might also transfers his powers to Izuku on the same morning as the entrance exam. And how does Izuku celebrate? By tripping and almost slapping his face on the fucking concrete. Fortunately, a passing student manages to catch Deku. This is Uraka, a beautiful cinnamon roll pretending to be a human girl. Fast forward, and the entrance exam is a fight to see who can score the most points by destroying robots. However, there is one kind of robot that is worth 0 points if destroyed. During the exam, Deku hasn't scored a single point, and it looks like he's going to fail when the Colossal Titan shows up disguised as a training robot. It ends up trapping Uraka under some rubble by accident. And that's when Deku activates One for All for the first time, leaping into the air, and he charges an extra juicy Detroit Smash! Deku pops that bitch in the mouth and claps his first cheeks of the series. Unfortunately, he clapped those cheeks so hard he broke his arms and his fucking legs. Because he broke most of his limbs on that attack, Uraraka shows up and she pops that bitch in the mouth, using her quirk Zero Gravity to save him from a fall that definitely would have killed him otherwise. Fast forward a bit and Deku gets into UA. Not because he took down the most robots, but because he chose to save someone instead of scoring points. And Ochaka got in because she tried to save Deku because she thought that he would fail. I just want to take a second to acknowledge what a beautiful, beautiful person she is. And then we move on to the first day of school. Midoriya meets his classmates, a bunch of assholes and weirdos. And then he meets his teacher, a huge weirdo asshole named Eraserhead, or Aizawa. Aizawa forces the students to use their quirks in track and field events. Whoever gets the lowest overall score will be expelled. And everyone except Deku gets good scores because he can't quite control his quirk yet. And Aizawa won't just let him break his arm in order to win one of the events. So Midoriya has to come up with a new plan. If I can't break my arms, then I'll just have to break my fingers! Detroit Smash! I did it! I threw the— oh god, that hurts! Oh my, that is the worst kind of pain! Do I have to do this every time I fight? I'm gonna have to do this every time I fight! I don't wanna be a hero anymore! I got the lowest score! I'm getting expelled! Wait, it was just a trick? I broke my finger for nothing? I wanna go home! Eraserhead decides not to expel Deku and tells the entire class that it was just a trick to motivate them, despite that not being his true intentions. Fast forward to the next day in this battle training, heroes versus villains. The class gets divided into hero and villain teams for a mock battle. To win, one team has to stop the other. Midoriya is at a natural disadvantage due to his lack of control with his quirk. So, of course, he ends up having to fight Bakugo, literally the strongest fighter in the class. Because if you think about it, life hates Deku. But he ends up on a team with Araka, because if you think about it, the ladies love Deku. During the fight, Midoriya ends up going against Bakugo 1v1 while Araka goes off to fight Ida. Deku uses his years of hero knowledge to fight back against Bakugo, and he actually starts winning because he watched Naruto, and he knows that hard work beats talent. And then Bakugo starts beating the shit out of him because he watched Naruto, and he knows that's a load of bullshit. And then, after getting all sweaty, Bakugo takes his built-up juices and explodes all over Deku. But Deku's not just gonna sit there and take Bakugo's load. That's disgusting. Deku isn't gonna just sit there and take Bakugo's load. He charges up his quirk's power, looks him in the eye, and gives him the D! Detroit Smasher! Using the debris from the attack, Araka uses the Comet Home Run, a move so powerful she'll never use it ever again, and their team takes the win. But for the overall exercise, Ida was the actual winner, because he's the only one that took the exercise seriously and acted accordingly. Fast forward and the class votes on class rep, and Ida ends up winning because he stayed calm and collected during an emergency situation. Fast forward to the next day, and the students show up for emergency situation training, only to be ambushed by the League of Villains! A group of All Might haters led by Shigaraki, and their goal is to kill All Might. But All Might isn't there because he exhausted himself while saving people earlier that day. So Eraserhead decides to take on the League of Villains! Most of the students get scattered around the emergency training facility, and number 13 takes an L from their own quirk. Deku ends up with Sue, a frog disguised as a waifu, and Mineta, a goblin slayer goblin disguised as a human child. In order to protect themselves, the UA students team up and fight back. And these grown-ass villains get taken out by a bunch of first-week 9th graders, and Ida runs off to go get help. Meanwhile, Eraserhead is clapping every cheek in sight. He might not even need back— oh shit. Eraser gets his face broken in by a swole-ass turkey called Nomu. Deku tries to help, but almost gets his friends killed by Bad Touch Man. And that's when Big Papa All Might shows up after running into Ida, and he is pissed off. Alright, I came here to chew ass and kick gum. Wait, that came out wrong. I came to kick ass and chew gum, and I'm all out of Big League Chew. All Might tries to lay down the law, but gets trapped by the buff turkey and a villain with a portal power. That's when some of the students show up and help All Might out. And now with just a minute of power left, All Might faces off against the villain that's meant to take him at 100% strength. And All Might claps them cheeks. Oh man, he doesn't have to break his fingers. Go beyond! Plus Aura! After sending Nomu into the stratosphere, All Might and Deku managed to bluff long enough for the rest of the heroes to show up, including this guy, who literally just shoots people really well. What I'm trying to say is, Deku could be a hero without a quirk. Scared and injured, the main members from the League of Villains retreat. There were no major deaths, and while they were injured, both 13 and Eraserhead...
Hey guys, I'm Charles Preston, I'm that guy from high school, and I hope you enjoyed that preview of my My Hero Academia in Minutes video, because I will be dropping the rest of the video, hopefully later this week. What day? I don't know. I guess you'll just have to subscribe to find out. But anyways, on a serious note, I enjoyed making this video for you guys, and it's almost 30 minutes long. I recorded the rest of the dialogue earlier this week, and I've just been editing pretty much non-stop. And like I said, the rest of it should be out later this week. So go ahead and subscribe so you can know when that comes out. Because if you don't subscribe, you won't be able to find out when it drops. And trust me, you're gonna want to know. So I'm the guy from high school, and I will see you guys later.